Pope Francis's assertion that all religions are paths to God, made during a recent event in Singapore, has raised questions among Christians worldwide. This statement, which seems to advocate for unity among different faiths, aligns with Francis's long-standing approach to interfaith dialogue. But it has also reignited concerns about a one-world religion and the potential implications of such a movement. Could he be inadvertently setting the stage for the prophecies detailed in the Book of Revelation? And how does this align with traditional Catholic doctrine that Jesus is the only way to salvation? To unpack these questions, we need to explore the Pope's broader interfaith strategy. Historically, the Catholic Church has engaged in interfaith efforts, notably beginning with the Second Vatican Council, which promoted respect and dialogue between religions. If you enjoy content that helps you grow spiritually, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join our community for more inspiration. Let's get started. Pope John Paul II was a key figure in this movement, organizing the World Day of Prayer for Peace in 1986, where leaders of various faiths gathered to pray together. For John Paul II, this was not about blurring the lines between religions, but about acknowledging shared spiritual aspirations. Francis, however, has taken this a step further by openly affirming the presence of God within diverse religious practices, suggesting a more expansive view of how divine truth can be accessed. Yet, it is his approach to these encounters that differentiates him. During his recent visit to Indonesia, a country with strict religious regulations and a Muslim majority, Francis emphasized the importance of peace and tolerance. He met with leaders from various faiths and reportedly fostered a dialogue centered on mutual respect. However, such actions have stirred unease among those who view his approach as compromising essential Christian doctrines. Indonesia, where Christians often face persecution, represents a complex backdrop for these dialogues. By advocating for an inclusive religious approach in such a context, he highlights his commitment to unity, albeit a unity that some believe might blur doctrinal distinctions. Pope's stance, however, is not without criticism. Figures like Bishop Joseph Strickland have openly opposed the idea that all religions are equal paths to God. Strickland argues that Francis's statement undermines the very foundation of Christianity, which asserts Jesus as the sole path to salvation. This tension between inclusivity and doctrinal purity has caused a significant divide within the Catholic Church. Strickland and others contend that Francis's approach could pave the way for a globalized religion that aligns uncomfortably close to the prophecies of a one-world faith under the Antichrist. In the wake of these developments, some speculate that Francis's endorsement of interfaith harmony might be part of a larger agenda aimed at consolidating global spiritual beliefs. His meetings with leaders from various religions, combined with his push for environmental sustainability through initiatives like the Green Sabbath, suggest a holistic vision that extends beyond theology. While many laud this as a step towards global peace, others see it as a fulfillment of apocalyptic warnings found in Revelation 13, where nations are foretold to unite under a singular, deceptive authority. The debate continues as his approach forces Catholics to confront complex questions. Is his interfaith agenda a genuine pursuit of peace? Or does it signal an unsettling shift away from core Christian beliefs? And if religions are merely different paths to the same God, as Francis suggests, what role does Christ play in this new framework? These questions reflect the broader struggle within the Church as it navigates a rapidly changing world, balancing tradition with a desire for unity. It is only human to look for solutions that line up with our core values when the need to know is at an all-time high. Pope's initiatives raise pressing questions that challenge traditional perspectives and could redefine spiritual landscapes. For those navigating these questions, there's a resource that offers clarity and guidance. This is exactly what The Secret of Jesus' Apparitions offers. A Path to Clarity and Peace Through His Revelations. This ebook goes into his prophecies and offers insight into what lies ahead. It's available for free in the pinned comment. Grab it now before the edition's gone. Through this lens, Francis's recent actions and statements underscore an era of uncertainty and introspection for Catholics and Christians at large. As he calls for a united spiritual front, the echoes of Revelation's warnings remind us that the path forward is not without profound implications. His recent remarks in Singapore have sparked considerable debate. By stating that all religions are paths to God, he positioned himself at the center of a complex discussion about interfaith dialogue and the role of the Catholic Church in promoting religious inclusivity. During his address, he suggested that different religions act as unique languages through which individuals can connect with the divine, highlighting his belief in the value of a culture of encounter, where understanding and dialogue are prioritized over exclusivity. This approach has led to significant backlash among conservative Catholic figures. Bishop Joseph Strickland, for instance, has publicly criticized Francis's view, suggesting that it contradicts the fundamental Christian doctrine that Jesus Christ is the only way to salvation. This tension echoes a broader debate within the Church about the extent to which it can engage with other faiths without diluting its own beliefs. Strickland, along with others, argues that affirming all religions as valid paths to God risks undermining the uniqueness of Christ's role in salvation, which has been a core tenet of Christian theology. Francis's call for unity comes at a time when the world is increasingly divided along religious and cultural lines. He encouraged young people at the gathering to embrace dialogue with courage and step out of their comfort zones. According to him, interfaith dialogue is more than just theological conversation. It is about building a society that values respect and peace across diverse beliefs. He emphasized that dialogue must be built on mutual respect, as disrespect leads to division and ultimately societal decay. His stance is not entirely new, but rather an extension of his predecessor's efforts to foster interreligious dialogue. Pope John Paul II, in particular, advanced this agenda by organizing the World Day of Prayer for Peace in 1986, where leaders from various faiths gathered to pray together. John Paul II believed that such encounters were a step toward realizing God's desire for humanity to embark on a shared, fraternal journey toward transcendent goals. In Singapore, Francis's message was particularly resonant, given the country's religious diversity. He addressed various societal issues, such as the over-reliance on technology and the pervasive problem of bullying, which he tied back to the need for mutual respect. He linked his concerns with a broader biblical context, invoking the need for young people to act as peacemakers in a world often marked by discord. This call to action echoes Matthew 5:9, where Jesus states, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God," underscoring the Pope's emphasis on active engagement as a form of spiritual and moral growth. As these questions unfold, take a moment to secure your free ebook, limited copies left. Pope's approach to dialogue also aligns with his 2019 signing of the Declaration on Human Fraternity with Grand Imam Ahmed El-Tayeb. In this declaration, Francis affirmed that the diversity of religions is willed by God, suggesting that pluralism is not merely tolerated but celebrated. This view has challenged traditionalists who hold that the Catholic Church should not endorse other religions as valid pathways to God. Still, he emphasizes that promoting interfaith understanding is essential for peace and justice, framing it as both a practical and spiritual necessity in today's world. While some critics argue that his approach risks undermining core Christian teachings, the Pope maintains that such inclusivity does not detract from his commitment to the gospel. In his apostolic exhortation, Evangelii Gaudium, he wrote, "There can be no true evangelization without the explicit proclamation of Jesus as Lord. He insists that engaging with other faiths is not about compromising Catholic doctrine, but about recognizing and honoring God's presence across various cultures and beliefs. Pope's vision to global religious unity and his Jesuit roots offer a unique perspective on his leadership style. As the first Jesuit pope, he is hugely influenced by the Jesuit emphasis on intercultural dialogue and finding God in all things. This approach aligns with his broader mission to promote religious inclusivity, which he expressed in his recent statements suggesting that all religions are paths to the same divine truth. His words have sparked reactions from across the spectrum, especially among those who interpret this as a movement towards a one-world religion. One aspect of his Jesuit background that has significantly shaped his papacy is the focus on spiritual discernment and the Universal Apostolic Preferences, UAPs, of the Society of Jesus. These preferences include walking with the excluded and engaging in ecological justice, themes that he has consistently emphasized. For him, these principles do not merely encourage dialogue, but demand a commitment to social justice and an active presence in marginalized communities. This has led to controversial stances, as some perceive his ecumenical approach as diluting traditional Catholic teachings on salvation and exclusivity. Moreover, the Pope's emphasis on unity has been criticized in light of biblical teachings that caution against false unity. For example, in the Gospel of Luke, Jesus mentions that his message would bring division even among families, as some would accept his teachings while others would not. Luke 12:51-53. This passage has been cited by critics who argue that unity should not come at the cost of compromising core Christian doctrines. Such concerns are compounded by apocalyptic fears, as some see Francis's moves as aligning with prophetic warnings of a future where religions converge under a single authority. Francis's Jesuit background also reflects a long history of the Jesuits' involvement in global missionary work, which has often placed them at the forefront of cultural and religious engagement. Historically, Jesuits were dispatched to regions where the Church sought to reclaim influence, particularly in response to the Protestant Reformation. This mission-focused approach explains why the Society of Jesus, which once faced suppression for its perceived power, remains influential under Francis's leadership, especially as he seeks to engage with diverse religious groups worldwide. In practice, Francis's approach to ecumenism is not about erasing distinctions, but about fostering mutual respect and shared purpose. For example, during his recent visit to Asia, he stressed that religious differences could coexist peacefully without necessitating conformity. Want to explore these themes further? Download the ebook now while copies are still available. This aligns with his belief that diverse religious expressions reflect God's gift, emphasizing that faith can be a bridge rather than a barrier. However, some still view his actions as potentially fulfilling the unification foretold in Revelation 13, where a global system emerges that subsumes individual beliefs into a larger, unified structure. As Francis continues to promote a vision of universal fraternity, his actions are scrutinized through both a theological and prophetic lens. His Jesuit training has equipped him with tools for dialogue and discernment, but it has also drawn him into a complex web of controversy. Balancing his commitments to the gospel and the broader call for global peace and justice, he exemplifies a model of leadership that is as challenging as it is transformative. Whether his path will be seen as a step towards a harmonious world or as a compromise of Christian exclusivity remains a point of contention. The three angels' messages from Revelation 14:6-12 serve as a central framework in discussing end-time prophecy and the concept of religious unity under a false system, often linked to the role of the Antichrist. The first angel calls for the fear and worship of God, emphasizing judgment upon the world. This proclamation sets the stage for the subsequent messages, which warn of Babylon's fall and the dire consequences for those who follow the beast and receive its mark. The theme centers on a stark choice between allegiance to God or submission to a system portrayed as a deceptive world power. According to the second angel, Babylon symbolizes a corrupt system that promotes idolatry and false worship. Historically, Babylon is used as a metaphor for oppressive powers that diverge from God's truth. This message is often seen as a call for believers to reject modern-day Babylons or systems that lead people away from God's commandments. The prophetic language here conveys urgency, as God warns of imminent judgment against these powers. Such themes resonate with those who view the ecumenical movement as a present-day manifestation of Babylon, drawing people into a deceptive unity that contradicts biblical teachings. The third angel delivers the most severe warning. Those who worship the beast will face God's wrath. This is described as undiluted and total, symbolized by the wine of God's wrath poured out full strength. Revelation frequently uses vivid imagery, and here the eternal punishment for following the beast echoes the ultimate consequences for aligning with falsehoods. This angel's message is often associated with rejecting any form of idolatry or allegiance to entities that oppose God's principles. This warning against false worship extends beyond mere religious doctrine, as it emphasizes the spiritual and moral urgency to remain faithful to God alone. The Bible offers further context on the dangers of seeking peace apart from God. In Ezekiel 7:25, it says, "Destruction comes. They will seek peace, but there shall be none." This reflects the idea that true peace cannot be achieved without adherence to God's commandments. Similarly, 1 Thessalonians 5:3 warns, "For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them." Such verses are often cited to illustrate the futility of relying on human efforts to create peace, particularly when these efforts ignore God's law. In the context of Pope Francis's push for religious unity, these messages are seen by some as a divine warning against participating in a system that compromises biblical truths. Before the ebook is gone, make sure you don't pass up this opportunity to gain additional knowledge. The call to come out of Babylon is interpreted as a directive to avoid entanglement with movements that lead people away from God's commandments. By embracing unity at the cost of biblical truth, critics argue, individuals risk becoming part of the prophesied Babylonian system. If this post makes you think and you feel it connects with you, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Also, if you really want to support our work and help us keep creating valuable content, consider giving us a super thanks. Join this amazing community and don't miss any news. Ultimately, the three angels' messages serve as a call to vigilance and spiritual readiness. These passages are seen as both a warning and a promise. God's judgment is coming, but those who remain faithful will be saved. The messages challenge believers to examine their allegiances, urging them to choose loyalty to God over worldly powers. The prophetic imagery underscores the gravity of these choices, portraying them as matters of eternal consequence.